We spent weeks planning a different kind of weekend for Valentine's Day. No crowded restaurants or cliché gifts. We wanted something special. So we chose a small, charming town known for its craft brewery. The idea was simple: a peaceful getaway, tasting award-winning beers, and 2 days away from routine. We arrived on Saturday afternoon, and the town was exactly like the photos: cobblestone streets and well-preserved old houses. The atmosphere was cozy, and the brewery was in a historic mansion, with gleaming copper tanks and the sweet smell of malt in the air. The guide started his explanation, and that's when we noticed the couple for the first time. They introduced themselves as local photographers, saying they worked for a tourism website. At first, we didn't think much of it. They asked to take a picture of us, and since we were in a vacation mood, we agreed. But after that, they started appearing everywhere. When we left the brewery, there they were, smiling and asking about our plans. At the cafe in the square, the woman struck up a conversation about how young couples should enjoy life to the fullest. The man, on the other hand, kept suggesting we take more photos, insisting we pose in secluded spots around town. That's when we started to feel something was off. We decided to leave as soon as possible. The town no longer felt so welcoming, and that strange couple seemed to know too much about us. But when we picked up our phones to check the route back, something made our skin crawl. Location tracking notifications had been activated on both devices, as if someone had been monitoring our every move. We didn't remember turning anything like that on. My heart pounded. How did they do that? Without saying a word, we made eye contact and knew we had to get out of there discreetly. We left the restaurant and walked straight to the car, trying to act casual. Once inside, we locked the doors and let out a breath of relief, ready to leave. But the moment I started the engine and looked in the rearview mirror, my blood ran cold. The man and woman were standing on the sidewalk, watching us. They weren't smiling anymore. They just stared, as if they knew exactly what we were doing. It was supposed to be just a quiet Valentine's Day dinner. Nothing extravagant, just a moment for us. We made a simple meal, opened a bottle of wine, and played soft music to set the mood. The lights in the living room and kitchen were on, so it must have been pretty dark outside. In the middle of an ordinary conversation, I noticed it. On the other side of the window, standing in the shadows of the backyard, someone was there. I couldn't make out their face, just a dark silhouette, motionless, as if they were watching us. My first instinct was to freeze. What do you even do in a situation like that? I looked at my girlfriend and realized she hadn't noticed yet. When I told her not to move and to slowly look toward the window, she held her breath. We tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a curious neighbor, someone lost. But who just stands in the dark, silently watching? I got up slowly and walked toward the window. The figure didn't move. When I turned on the backyard light, there was no one there. No sound of footsteps, nothing. Just an eerie silence. My girlfriend suggested it might have been a reflection, maybe a trick of the light, but something felt wrong. We tried to brush it off and continued dinner, but a lingering unease filled the air. I felt like someone had really been there, but without proof, what could we do? The next morning, as we stepped outside to grab something from the car, I noticed marks on the ground, right by the living room window. Footprints. They weren't ours, and they were fresh, as if someone had stood there for a long time. The strange thing was, the tracks led up to the window, but they didn't seem to go back anywhere, as if the person had simply vanished. A chill ran through me. I looked around, trying to spot any sign of someone nearby, but the street was empty. My girlfriend saw the footprints too and got scared, but we tried convincing ourselves that maybe someone had passed by for another reason. Maybe a delivery guy or a neighbor. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. Things got worse when we started finding strange objects near the house. Later that afternoon, when I stepped onto the porch, I noticed a shirt button on the stair. The next day, we found a folded piece of paper near the gate. I opened it, expecting to see something written, but it was blank. As if someone just wanted to show us they could get that close. My girlfriend was getting genuinely scared, and so was I. This didn't feel like a coincidence anymore. Someone was coming near our home, standing there, watching us. But why? And who? That night, we locked everything up and tried to act normal, but the tension inside the house was suffocating. I kept glancing out the window from time to time, watching for any movement outside. Around 2 a.m., we heard a noise inside the house. A faint but distinct sound, like someone bumping into something. My heart pounded. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, trying to illuminate the hallway. My girlfriend clutched my arm. whispering for me not to leave the bedroom. We froze, listening. Another sound, this time from the living room, like someone was just standing there. I took a deep breath, mustered up some courage, and slowly opened the door, pointing my phone's light into the darkness. The living room looked empty, but something felt off. Then I saw the kitchen window. It was open. I was absolutely certain we had locked all the windows before going to bed. I stepped closer, feeling an icy dread creeping up my spine. On the floor, right beside the table, were a single pair of dirty footprints. As if someone had entered, stood there, and then disappeared. A wave of terror crashed over me. It didn't make sense. If someone had broken in, why didn't they take anything? Why did they just stand there? My girlfriend came up behind me, gripping her phone with trembling hands. She saw the footprints too, and began whispering that we needed to get out, now. I grabbed the closest knife from the kitchen, and moved toward the back door to check if it was locked. It was. Then another sound, this time from our bedroom, like something or someone had just moved inside. I have never felt fear like that in my life. We had no idea who or what was in there with us. My instinct was to run straight to the front door and get out. We flung it open without looking back and sprinted to the car. As soon as we got inside and slammed the doors shut, my girlfriend let out a choked gasp of pure terror. On the fogged-up window beside her, there was a mark, a handprint, as if someone had just pressed their palm against the glass from the inside. My mind reeled in panic. There was no way someone had gotten into the car without us noticing. I started the engine as fast as I could, and we sped away, not daring to look back. My girlfriend sobbed beside me, gripping her phone, ready to call the police. As we drove, the only thought that kept running through my mind was, how did that person get inside? And worse, where were they now? We drove straight to my parents' house, just a few miles away. When we arrived, we locked the doors and finally called the police. When the officers arrived, they returned with us to the house to investigate. There were no signs of forced entry, but all our clothes and belongings had been rummaged through, as if someone had gone through everything. And on the bedroom floor, there was something that made my stomach drop, a hastily scribbled note on a torn piece of paper. It read simply, "Happy Valentine's Day." My girlfriend and I always try to do something special for our anniversary. This time, we decided to spend the day at an amusement park that had recently opened in a nearby city. We arrived in the late afternoon, enjoyed the rides, and ate some snacks. Everything was great until, while walking near the Ferris wheel, a man approached us. He was holding a professional camera and said he worked for the park, taking pictures of couples for a special seasonal album. I found it a bit odd, but he was polite and seemed harmless. We agreed to a few quick photos, he smiled, and then walked away. But as the night went on, we started noticing something strange. The photographer was everywhere. He wasn't taking pictures of anyone else, only us. If we went to the roller coaster, he was at the exit. If we bought popcorn, he was on the other side of the plaza, standing there watching. At one point, we sat down to rest near the carousel, and when I looked back, there he was, partially hidden behind a post, staring at us. That's when my girlfriend started to get really scared and decided it was best to leave. We hurried toward the parking lot, but the park was crowded, and the pathways felt more confusing at night. Every time we looked back, the man was there. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was just walking in the same direction as us, always a few meters away. When we finally reached the car, I felt an immediate sense of relief, but it didn't last long. As soon as I unlocked the door, I realized something was wrong. The rear tire was completely flat. I took a closer look and saw that it wasn't an accident. Someone had slashed it. My heart started racing. I looked around, searching for the man, but he was gone. My girlfriend was on the verge of tears. I grabbed my phone and called a friend who lived nearby. I told him to come as fast as possible, without explaining much, just that we urgently needed a ride. While we waited, we stayed locked inside the car, trying to calm down. Then, a noise at the passenger window. My girlfriend jumped and gripped my hand tightly. I turned my head and saw a photograph pressed against the glass. It was one of the pictures the man had taken of us at the park. But that wasn't all. In the corner of the image, in the background, there was a reflection in a ride's mirror. A reflection we hadn't noticed before. It was him, standing right behind us. My girlfriend started hyperventilating. I froze. I only snapped out of it when we saw a bright light approaching from the other side of the parking lot. It was our friend's car. We got out quickly and ran to him. When I looked back one last time, I saw a silhouette disappearing between the other cars. We never reported it. The park closed a few weeks later, without explanation. And to this day, I wonder if anyone else received those photos.